The Chinese people are becoming more sophisticated.
People will argue, sexist slights are just words.
That was like the first time in my life that I studied for something that I really loved.
I believe that women not taking on leadership positions is directly related to self-esteem. When we look at the surface, girls seem to be excelling in both school and in the workforce. Here are a few facts. These aren't my opinions, these are backed up by studies, and these are facts. First, around the globe, females are collectively performing better than males. In other words, girls are consistently getting better grades as a whole than males. Another fact is more women go to college than men. The ratio is about 6-4 in terms of women to men. Another fact is women are just over half of the workforce at 52%. Yet, women make 20% less on average than men, and across all sectors, women occupy only 18% of the top leadership positions. So how in the world is it possible that girls excel in school, attend college at higher rates than boys, and then are somehow stuck in the bottom of the workforce? Are girls just not natural leaders? What's going on? My name is AshleyOlafsen, and I am a senior at Hopkinen High School. I've given 11 self-confidence workshops to date, along with my terrific friends, and I am passionate about self-esteem, body image, and the impact media is having on both boys and girls. Today, I'm going to talk about something that I never have before, and I'm going to begin to answer the question I just asked: why women aren't in leadership positions. Now, to find my answer, I'm going to be looking at the messages girls receive from our education systems and our American culture at a very young age. The issue of women not taking leadership roles doesn't start when women enter the workforce. The issue goes way back, deeper and longer than that. Now, there are countless explanations for why women aren't equal in leadership numbers, but I don't have the time nor ability to discuss all of them. So today, I will only be focusing on 4. The first reason why women aren't moving up the career ladder is because little girls are discouraged from self-asserting, a trait that is critical to leadership. This discouragement happens when girls are called words like bossy or pushy. I am the oldest in my family, and growing up, I had 3 younger siblings to play with. I had freedoms to create all sorts of games because I always had people to play with me. I used my imagination and organizational skills to create games that were complex and all-consuming. Our restaurants and orphanages and libraries ranged from one end of the basement to the other. And all of this fun was possible because I took such initiative. But the same traits that created an amazing world for me and my siblings to play in was sometimes perceived as negative by the outside world. Because I utilized my leadership traits as an 8-year-old girl, I was always called bossy by the outside world. Always. I was always told, "Ashley, calm down, you're too intense," or that I was strong-willed because I displayed so much forwardness. Though I am proud of my ambition now, words like bossy really hurt my feelings when I was younger and made me not want to be so assertive. We need to watch what we say around children because kids learn from our reactions. When we accept and reward behaviors, children learn to continue them. But when we call children negative names or are unhappy with a behavior, they learn to stop what is not received well. In other words, when we call girls bossy or intense, they don't want to be bossy anymore. So they lose those traits because they don't want to be them, and then as a natural result, they don't advance upward because they've been taught not to display those leadership traits. I thank God that I did not stop being bossy or pushy or too intense, because those are the traits that get you place. Additionally, the other part of the problem is that when boys hear these words, we teach them negative stereotypes about powerful women, and this can affect a woman's likability, and as a result, hold women back. I would like to share with you a really eye-opening story that I read about in Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. In 2003, professors Frank Flynn and Cameron Anderson conducted a study where students read a story about an entrepreneur, based on a real-life venture capitalist. Both of the stories were the same, with one exception. One group of students read a story about a woman named Heidi, and the other group read the same exact story, except the name was changed to Howard. Same story, different genders. Students were then polled about their impressions of Heidi and Howard. And despite them being the same person, the students preferred Howard over Heidi. Students felt that Heidi was selfish and not the type of person that you would want to work for or hire. This wasn't a problem with Howard, though, and this shows that we view the same traits differently for men and women. Sheryl Sandberg states, "Our stereotype of men holds that they are providers, decisive and driven. Our stereotype of women holds that they are caregivers, sensitive and communal. Because we characterize them in opposition to each other, professional achievement and all the other traits associated with it gets placed in the male column. And by focusing on her career and taking a calculated approach to amassing power, Heidi violated our stereotypical expectations of women. Yet by behaving in the same exact manner, Howard lived up to our stereotypical expectations of men. The end result, liked him, disliked her." When we call little girls bossy and pushy, we create a negative impression of women who display leadership qualities. As a natural consequence, women of power are liked less than their male counterpart. And this is why it is so critically important that we stop calling little girl names and we stop discouraging their leadership potential. The second way that we discourage women from taking on leadership positions is when females are discouraged from self-asserting. One recent study of graduates found that 57% of males negotiated their starting salary, in comparison to the mere 7% of females. The females just accepted the first offer. This led to the males having starting salaries, on average, $4,000 higher than the female MBAs in the same exact program. They were at the exact same skill level, yet the males negotiated and the women didn't. Why didn't the women speak up? The second way that we discourage women from taking on leadership positions is through a discouragement of speech. I will start by talking about stereotypes shown in advertising, and then I will talk about how boys and girls learn to speak. But first, I want to talk about self-advocating. Self-advocation is defined as an individual's ability to effectively communicate, convey, negotiate, or assert his or her own interests, desires, needs, and rights. It involves making informed decisions and taking responsibility for those decisions. Self-advocation is important because when an individual can properly self-advocate, they are more likely to make decisions that are right for them. They're more likely to put an end to something that makes them uncomfortable. Self-advocation is important in ending an unhealthy relationship, asking for a promotion or raise, or standing up for what you believe in. Which is why it's so disturbing that our advertising depicts females as passive and unable to self-advocate. In advertising, females are often depicted as passive. In advertising, women are frequently acted upon, or they simply are there to be looked at and they will stare, having absolutely no motion. In contrast, male advertisements, they are almost always moving or involved and engaged in some other activity besides themselves. As you can see, one of them is holding a football, one of them is playing with toys, and one of them is moving forward. This is completely unlike the females. This whole not acting thing is problematic because girls learn who they are supposed to become and what is expected of them from our media. And in our media, both boys and girls are learning that the role of female is passive. And it's not just girls and boys that are picking up these cues. Adults are too. Jean Kilbourne, author of Can't Buy Me Love, wrote, "Beginning in preschool, girls are told to be quiet much more often than boys. Although boys were much noisier than girls, the girls were told to speak softly or to use a nice voice about 3 times more often. Girls were encouraged to be quiet, small, and physically constrained." The way girls are depicted in the media influences how we think they should be. So then, as you can see, we treat them accordingly. Right now, our media is teaching us that girls shouldn't be speaking up. My friend Adam Grobart shared with me an article published last week in which a Yale professor asked professional men and women to evaluate the competence of chief executives who voice their opinions. The study found that male executives who spoke more often than their peers were rewarded with 10% higher ratings of competence. When female executives spoke more than their peers, both men and women punished them with 14% lower ratings. If we change the way we present women in advertising and view them as more than bodies and as human beings who are able to effectively communicate, our perceptions will change as well. Furthermore, on the topic of not speaking, in one fascinating study, it was discovered that girls and boys are brought up to play very differently, which eventually turns into a difference in speaking styles. When girls play, they are discouraged from standing out and excelling at something. If one girl does excel at something, typically others will talk about how she's bragging and think she's so much better than us. In other words, when girls are young, they learn not to speak confidently about themselves. If they do, they'll face the consequence of being gossiped about. Now this summer, I went to a week-long business camp called EMC Star. There was at least 100 kids, and on the first day, we had to do a classic get-to-know-everyone activity. We had a list of statements and had to find people who fit the statement. For example, the statement would be something like, I am in Model UN, and we would have to find someone who was in Model UN. Then we would write down their name next to the statement. When I scanned the list, not a single one applied to me. I don't fix cars, I don't swim competitively. I didn't fit into any of them. And now one statement said, I am the CEO of my own startup company. And that was the only one that even remotely fit me. Technically speaking, I am the co-CEO of my own startup company. I do self-confidence workshops, this is going to be my career, but it felt so outstandingly wrong to declare myself as a CEO of my own startup at age 17. That's like bragging about myself as a first impression. So for the entire activity, when people asked me what I fit, I apologetically told them that I sort of fit the startup company one, and then justified it with a long story and explanation. I was so embarrassed and humiliated to introduce myself by bragging what I perceived to be bragging. Since girls know that speaking confidently about themselves will get bullied, girls learn early on not to speak with authority. And that's exactly what I did to get people to like me during this camp. On the other hand, when boys play and learn to speak, they emphasize high status and begin to get comfortable with power. They, as a study put it, boys learn to use language to negotiate their status in the group by displaying their abilities and knowledge and by challenging others and resisting challenges. This results in males being comfortable with power, high status, and most importantly, negotiating in order to become powerful. So, boys and girls are brought to speak differently. Girls learn not to talk about their strengths because they'll be gossiped about, and boys learn to negotiate in order to gain power and social status. This is happening at such a young age. They're already learning this. And of course, this discouragement of speech has harmful long-term consequences. Back to the negotiation story, by and large, women do negotiate less than men. And it's a real shame that women don't learn early on how to negotiate, because negotiation has the potential to lead to a higher pay or a higher position, both things that could decrease the pay gap and advance women forward. But negotiation means asking for something better than what you have right now because you have worked hard and you deserve better. You can see now how uncomfortable it might be for a woman to take ownership of her ability. It all goes back to how girls have been taught from a young age not to promote themselves for fear of being cocky. By criticizing girls who speak up and self-advocate, we're harming them in the long run because these are important skills needed to navigate career advancement. And now the third way that we hurt a woman's chance in the workplace is by associating anything feminine as negative or secondary. We use many phrases at a young age to insinuate that being a girl is a bad thing. For example, it is common to use like a girl as an insult, saying that someone cries like a girl, fights like a girl, hits like a girl. The list goes on and on and on. Sexist jokes are also in this category as well. The reason why insults about females are problematic is because we teach both boys and girls to devalue anything feminine, including emotion. In order for women to succeed in a career, it is critical that both boys and girls have respect for each other, and it is critical that boys are able to see females in a positive light. People will argue, sexist slights are just words. They may be just words, but these words are teaching little girls and boys to treat women as less than. Additionally, when boys are insulted for being like a girl at a young age, we teach them a disrespect for female that perpetuates harmful stereotypes. My good friend Liam Horstman put it, when boys are taught that from a young age to use like a girl as an insult, we are also inadvertently teaching them that being feminine is a weakness, that masculinity and being a man involves rooting out any sign of perceived weakness or, in their mind, feminine association. And with that, we teach a false sense of masculinity, teaching boys that it's wrong to do anything considered feminine. Common phrases that put down females hold back women from reaching equality in leadership positions. These phrases contribute to a general disrespect for women, and the fact that they are often done in a joking manner only serves to reinforce women as secondary, something that they really shouldn't be in America especially. And finally, the fourth way that we hold women back from taking on leadership positions is the beauty standard. When I gave my first ever presentation, something happened that I won't ever forget. I was a sophomore, and we used an activity called Cross the Line, where one person reads out a list of statements, and girls cross the line if they've ever felt that way. For example, one would read out, "Cross the line if you've ever worn clothing just to fit in." And all of the girls that have done that would cross the line. Then everyone would go back to the starting point, and the next question would be read. My best friend Emma Nygrosh read out the statement, "Cross the line if you've ever thought you weren't pretty enough to do something." When Emma read off this statement, every single girl, all the 8th graders, even the girls that I was doing the workshop with, crossed the line, except for me. I was the only girl that didn't think that she wasn't pretty enough to do something. All the others thought that their appearance restricted their capability as a person. They thought that their appearances and their self-worth were all tied into one. And real, live, actual people thought that they couldn't do something because they weren't pretty enough. I have truly never been so devastated by something. I have done 11 workshops to date, as I said, and at each one, we've read out that statement. And the result has not changed. Almost all girls cross the line during this statement, asserting that they believe the way that they look holds them back. I believe that women not taking on leadership positions is directly related to self-esteem. I believe that this lack of confidence and excess of dehumanizing objects that our media portrays is holding women back. You might be thinking, so what? So what if females are unhappy with the way they look? Why exactly is not liking oneself a problem? Well, here's the issue. We as females are taught by the media to measure our self-worth in terms of our appearance. So when we feel bad about our appearance, we feel bad about ourselves. And consequently, when we feel bad about ourselves, we sell ourselves short and fail to be the best we can be. What really holds women back from leadership positions is this obsession with beauty, because we're using our human potential to look good, rather than using our massive potential to change the world. We can't rise to the top leadership position if we're too busy worrying about a thigh gap. Once I stopped focusing so much on my insecurities, I became free to think about more important things. My energy transferred from spending time on the way I looked rather than onto pursuing long-term goals. When I actively accepted myself sophomore year, I grew on an intellectual and creative level. I began devoting hours every day to researching self-esteem, body image, and the connection to media. I feel so much passion and such a high sense of purpose when I work. I'm able to not only reach my full potential, but I'm able to reach out to others and help them reach theirs as well, because that's what confidence does. And I believe that if 100% of our population, girls included, could reach their full potentials, we could accomplish anything. So if we intend to start changing females' perception of themselves and empower them to become leaders, we need to change the beauty standard. Because this beauty standard isn't just hurting girls, it's hurting boys too. Because it's teaching boys that women are just objects and that women are just bodies and that they have less respect. So we're teaching boys a disrespect for females, which is hurting everyone. Now together, these 4 reasons can begin to explain why women are not truly equal in the workforce. Once again, I have barely touched the tip of the iceberg, but this is a starting point. So here are a few solutions. This is not something that is going to happen overnight, and this is an incredibly challenging issue. However, I have come up with some basic, simple solutions. The first solution to girls being discouraged from leadership positions begins with encouraging and praising girls who demonstrate leadership ability rather than criticizing them. That's a simple place to start. The solution to girls not speaking up is a bit more complicated. We have to speak up in 2 ways. The first way we need to speak up is by calling out the media when it's sexist, whether that means writing a letter or tweeting to the company. I have done both on several occasions. The second way is we literally need to speak up, and we need to be encouraged and believed in to speak up, and we need to encourage other females and males to speak up for females as well. The solution to females being devalued through phrases and jokes is to recognize when we are saying things to devalue females. It's simply recognition and then stopping. It's just a mental change. If you're a bit more brave, stand up and call out the media or other people who devalue females. Teach boys and girls respect for each other. And then finally, the last one is changing the beauty standard. Like I said, I recognize that this one is extremely difficult, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try. We can challenge the beauty standard by accepting ourselves and by demanding better. I demand better by writing a book, by writing a newsletter, and by speaking at self-confidence workshops or other events like this one today. You can speak up and demand better by making a video, by writing a letter to a makeup company that uses Photoshop, by creating a change.org campaign, or however you think that it would be appropriate for you to use your voice. It's literally as easy as composing a tweet or signing a petition. Change doesn't need to be difficult. It is doable and it's accessible for everyone if you want to speak up. It's not going to be easy, but eventually change is inevitable. And I hope that you all consider how you are going to use your voice today. Though I realize that these are all gross simplifications of solutions and that the solution is not nearly as simple, like I said, I believe that this is a starting point. I believe that if we want to change the problem if we start to change the problem where it begins, the ending will be changed as a natural result, which is so important that we change these problems for little girls. Now, if you'd like to continue this conversation, I feel a little silly because there are so few people here and most of you have already liked it. But I do create an online weekly newsletter, which I email out every single week. Hannah signed up for it, Mrs. Nagrosh is. I have, I think, almost 200 men and women that sign up for the newsletter. And anyone can sign up for it, both boys, girls, a bunch of my teachers are signed up for it. It's really for any age. And every single week I share videos, articles, essays, and anyone can submit anything to it. So if you'd like to sign up for the newsletter, you can look at our Facebook page, which is the company that I run with my friend Lexi Phipps for self-confidence workshops, which is facebook.com/officialmove. Move is the company, stands for Motivate, Overcome, Value, Empower. And I have so much information for signing up, so if you just scroll down and look at a couple posts, you'll find it, and I'll post another one of how to sign up tonight. And then finally, I don't know how many of you are on Twitter, but if you do happen to have a Twitter, you can follow me on @AshleyOlafsen. And with that, I just want to say thank you all so much.
So I picked this topic to research just because I think that it's really amazing that the town that I live in, the town where my children grew up, that slaves lived, labored, and were owned by families in this town, in Hopkinton. I've had an interest in slavery and in other marginalized groups also for a long time. So I've read novels, done a little bit of reading. But I just can't imagine.
Hi, I'm Jen Belisi from Golden Pond Assisted Living in Hopkinton. Staying active is essential to happy and healthy aging. Golden Pond has activities for seniors and people of every age.
Different people have different interests and different requirements.
There is a diverse range of opportunities to be had at Golden Pond.
I know everybody. I go to many activities. I don't like staying home.
I go to the cooking class on one day a week.
They have different seminars that we participate in.
Well, we do play bingo like many of the other residents. What do you like best about here?
The people.
They do nice things here.
We've made some friendships, not acquaintances, real friendships.
If you'd like to participate in any of Golden Pond's upcoming events, Visit the events page on Golden Pond's website or call 508-435-1250 for more information. We hope to see you soon.
I'm Dr. Michael Berry. For many medical problems, there's more than one appropriate option for testing or treatment. Determining which option to choose may be one of the most important decisions a patient will ever make. Yet too often, patients make decisions without a thorough understanding of their options. Shared decision-making can help. It allows patients and their providers to decide together based on the best scientific evidence and the patient's values and preferences. The Informed Medical Decisions Foundation has worked with a company called Health Dialogue to develop more than 30 programs on various aspects of medical care. These programs help patients work with their providers to make care decisions mindful of what patients most care about. Among our programs are those for cardiovascular disease, chronic conditions, breast cancer, mental health, end-of-life care, and screening and testing. I encourage you to learn more about how to get health care that's right for you by visiting our website.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Peralt, co-producer of Wake Up and Smell the Poetry, an HCAM series honoring poetry, story, and song that takes place on the third Saturday each month before a live audience. Guest features share their art, followed by an open mic with people who come from near and far. Others come to listen and be part of this warm and welcoming studio and to wake up a bit to arts and to life. You're welcome to join us and to tune in or visit our website for our weekly program. Hope you can join us.
I'm Dr. Albert Tremaldi.
I'm Dr. Maggie Ham.
Hepatitis is a disease of the liver, a major cause of cirrhosis and liver cancer, a leading cause of death by infection, claiming some 15,000 lives each year.
Hepatitis is actually a group of 5 unrelated viruses, with one of the most common being hepatitis C. Most patients who contract hepatitis C develop a chronic or long-term infection.
More than 4 million Americans are living with chronic hepatitis, yet most do not know they are infected, putting them at risk for complications and increasing the likelihood of spread of the disease to others.
Some of the highest rates of hepatitis C appear in those born between 1945 to 1965, the so-called baby boom generation, and health officials are urging those people to get tested for the disease.
If you're in this group, call your primary care physician to arrange for testing. The good news is that hepatitis C can be successfully treated with medication.
For more information, visit the U.S. Centers for Disease Control website.
Yes, we're HCAM TV, but movies also? Dive-In Drive-In is a new program featuring the HCAM staff's favorite B movies. Check our schedule at hcam.tv for the next showing of some of the more forgotten films. Black and white or color, join Mike Trosian and myself as we introduce and give you some interesting facts about the cast and crews of classic movies. We hope you'll enjoy these treasured films of yesteryear.